Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to dive into fear. Fear is something that can control us. And if you have ever been stuck in a cycle of fear, fear that you're not worthy enough, fear that you're not good enough parent, fear that you're not a good enough friend, that you're never going to find your purpose, that you're sick or your child is sick and you go on this spiral of fear, it is a cycle. And I'm going to tell you a story today that just recently happened to our family that shines a flashlight on this fear and how we can take this and turn it into something that consumes us. And so I cannot wait to get into this with you today because it is going to be fun. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas, have I got a story for you today, y'all, about something that happened to me this past week, and it really has me thinking about y'all, about my past, and about how we can let fear consume us and how we can take fear and turn it into this whole thing that is not truth, right? This may actually wind up being a 2-parter because I really want to dive into the fear part of things today, but I also want to talk to you about how to dig into that truth, how to overcome the fear and live in that truth, right? So we may do a 2-parter. Let's see how this goes today. And let's get into this story. I want to first start with a quote though, because I'm afraid I might not get my quotes in today if I don't start with one. The first quote we have today is from Helen Keller. And Helen Keller says, "Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. The fearful are caught as often as the bold." The fearful are caught as often as the bold, right? She says avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. So I'm not saying like if you continue to jump off a cliff or go skydiving or whatever, that you are as safe as someone who does not go skydiving or jump off a cliff. But as you're living your life from the day to day, if you are living in fear and you are living in that place of not doing things, not exposing yourself, your family maybe, to things because of the fear of possibility of something going wrong or the fear of who knows what, y'all, it is no safer. Those of us are caught just as often as those who are bold and taking the steps, right? So I want to tell you what happened to us. Y'all, last week I was at my hairdresser, okay? She's doing my hair and all of a sudden my kids are with me and I get a notification on my phone from my alarm company that my alarm is going off. And I was like, what? And I look at the phone and it says basement motion detected. And I was like, basement motion? Do you guys think you left the basement door, like the door that leads into the basement of our house? Do you think you left it open and maybe the cat is down there? Like there was storms in the area. We thought maybe, like the dog and the cat were like fighting or something. Normally, they don't go in the basement, I don't think, when we're not home. And normally we shut the basement door. But I'm like, maybe we didn't shut it, So the alarm company actually, because I didn't respond quick enough, and like turn it off, it actually triggered the alarm, which I wasn't even thinking about. And so the alarm is like going off in our house, which we're not there to hear it, right? But the alarm company wound up calling me and I told them not to dispatch anybody to the house because I figured that it was probably the cat or the dog or something. I was assuming it was the cat, who had jumped up on something or whatever and set off the motion detector in the basement. And I said, was that the only thing that went off? And they said, yes, it was just the motion detector. I was like, okay, no police needed, So go on, finish my hair appointment. We go home And I said, girls, let me just check the perimeter just to make sure. I'm just going to walk around the back of the house. That's where the basement is, and just check it out before we go in. So I walk around the back of the house. I don't see any broken windows or anything because, if someone were to break a window, they would set off the motion detector, but they wouldn't set off the alarm, right? So I was like, I didn't see any broken windows or anything. And I don't know why, but I tried to open my back door and it was unlocked. And first of all, we have a double lock. Like, so the bottom lock should have been locked and the deadbolt should have been locked. And neither were. I was able to push the door real quick and like pull it right back and be like, oh gosh. And I like took off running and I called dispatch for my local area. And it wasn't like an emergency because it had been like 45 minutes since my alarm went off. But I was like, I need to, we're not going to go in the house if my basement door is unlocked because what if someone did break a window somewhere and they went out the basement door, right? And so the police come, 3 cop cars show up, 3 different policemen. They, go around the back of the house. They go through the whole house. They come out. They, the one guy is talking to me about how they cleared the house. It looks like nothing outside of like it being a complete disaster in my basement because it's summer and I kind of have let the kids go crazy in the basement. And so they are playing some store game or something down there, and it's literally a disaster, like literally a disaster. And so I was like, outside of the basement, does everything look okay? And they were like, yes. And he was like laughing, because of how bad the basement is, I'm sure, right? And they probably had to like step over 400, like they have like this whole store set up. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. There is nothing in your house, they told me, right? Like we cleared the whole thing, we checked the whole thing, no one's in there. It doesn't look like any foul play or anything has happened. And I was like, okay. And one of the other officers had said something to this officer, and he said to me, the door is unlocked. The basement door is still unlocked. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine, So we go in the house, like they leave and me and the kids go in the house. And my youngest, both of my girls were like a little apprehensive, like they didn't love it that the police were here and they thought somebody might have been in the house still and like all of this. And I was like, it was probably the cat, you guys. They were like, but why was the door unlocked and all of this? And I'm like, I have no idea, and I text my husband, I'm like, do you think you left the basement door unlocked? And he was like, no, if it's unlocked, it would have to have been unlocked for like months. And I was like, I agree. Like, who has gone out the basement door recently? Like, my mother-in-law always goes out the basement when she's here because she like stays downstairs. But like, I'm like, there's no way has it been unlocked since May, like for like months. So anyway, we go in the house and my youngest is like really still worked up. She does not want to be in our house until my husband gets home. And I'm like, honey, you know what? Everything's fine, but let's just take Lucky and go for a walk. And so which I knew my husband was on the way home. So I was like, if we just take Lucky and walk her around the block, like then by the time we do that, my husband will be home and all will be well. Right. So I get the girls and we go to leave and I go to turn on the alarm and I can't arm the alarm. It won't let me arm it. And I'm like, that's strange. And so I clear it. I thought, oh, maybe it's just because it was turned off from my phone. And I was like, I'll just clear it and then reset it. Nope, that didn't work either. And I'm like, and it said that something was wrong, like it wouldn't arm because something was still wrong or whatever, but it wasn't giving me what was wrong on the alarm. So I was just like, okay, girls, let's just go and then we'll figure this out as we're walking. So I get on my app and I open it up and it says that the basement door is open. And I was like, what? So I override setting the alarm from my phone and now the alarm is on, but it says the basement door is open. And I was like, or the basement door is faulty or something like that. And I was like, what? Why would the basement door be faulty? And I'm like, did they leave it like open a little bit or something? Like maybe they didn't fully close it. They told me it was unlocked. Like, I don't know. So then my mind starts to go and I'm like, was somebody really still in the house? Or did somebody come back after the police left? Like, what is happening? Why would the door be open? I called my alarm company because I'm thinking something is wrong with the basement, like door, like the sensor or whatever. And I was like, maybe the sensor maybe they can look and see, because when I opened the door, it didn't trigger the alarm. It didn't trigger it until the police opened the door. And I was like, I wonder why that happened, right? Like, so I was asking them if something could have happened in the house, like if someone was inside the house, if they could like disarm the trigger somehow. Because then I started thinking, gosh, was somebody in the house, like, and we had to like, I have no idea. So I just was calling to ask that question. So in the meantime, my husband comes home and he goes walking around the back of the house. I'm not sure even why he went around the back and didn't go in the front, but the alarm was set, right? And so when he goes walking it around and he sees the basement door completely wide open, like completely wide open. And you can't get in that door. Like our door doesn't just like slide open, or the wind doesn't blow it open. Like it's one of those where the carpet like catches the bottom of the door and you really have to push it hard, and then it reaches a point where then it will like pop open, but you really have to push it hard to get it to that point. So it can't just like come open, right? So it is completely wide open, and he goes walking in the house and he sets the alarm off again. So I'm on the phone with the alarm. I get a notification on my phone that the alarm is going off, and I'm like, oh shoot, my husband is like walking in the house setting off the alarm. So now the other line is ringing with ADT because my alarm is going off. I'm on the phone with ADT. Somehow I get cut off from the first guy. And I'm now talking to this woman that's like, your alarm is going off. Do you want me to dispatch? And I'm like, I don't think so. My husband, I'm like explaining to her what's going on. I don't know. I think my husband just set off the alarm. He just got home, whatever. So then he comes out the front door as we're walking down the driveway, and he says the basement door was wide open. And I go, what do you mean? Like open? Like the police left it unlocked. He's like, no, it was wide open. And so I'm talking to the woman at ADT about this, and she was like, I think maybe I should just dispatch the police. And I was like, yeah, I think maybe you should. So she calls the police again to dispatch them. We have police on our way to the house. Now my kids are completely freaking out, right? Like my kids are in a panic. My oldest that wasn't panicked is now panicked. My youngest is now crying. They both think someone's been in our house, and they were in there even when we were in there, even though the police cleared our house, right? Like I'm starting to wonder what is going on. I start thinking about our neighbors that had a key to our house. I'm like, maybe one of the children, like that just watched our cat while we were gone, like maybe she got in and was like playing a prank, trying to play a prank on the kids. Like, I don't know. And then got scared and like ran out. I'm like, I do not know what is going on, but I am starting to get weirded out. I'm like, you know what? We were already like ordering pizza for dinner at this point. I was like, I'm just going to take the kids and go to my mom and dad's, and you deal with the cops, because I don't want the kids to be any more traumatized by this whole situation. And if they find something, I don't even want them to know about it. Right. I am like, oh my gosh. So we get in the car, we drive over to my parents'. My husband deals with the cop coming back. Him and my husband, the cop and my husband go through the whole entire house again. They're checking everything. Nothing is there. The cop leaves. Scott calls me. He's like, everything is fine. Come home. And I'm like, I tell the kids, I'm like, everything is fine. We need to go home. Nobody's in our house. Everything is fine. And they're like, no, we're not going home. Like somebody's in our house. Something's wrong. Like we're not going home. And I couldn't convince my kids to go home. I was like, what, are you just going to sleep at Gma and G-Dad's house? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, no, that is not happening. Like you are not sleeping here. They were like, what? So I go and I'm like, you know what? This is all on the log online, but I can't get online. So I'm like, I think I can get into my app and figure out, go through the log and see exactly what happened. So I'm like going through every single time anything happens, it like triggers something on my alarm, like a notification comes on my phone. So every time a door is opened or a door is shut, or a basement motion detector or a glass detector, every time anything goes off, it's noted, right? But it's always noted if a door is open, but also when a door shuts. And so I'm going back through everything, looking for anything. I go back to like when it first started, when I opened the door, and I don't see, like, I didn't trigger the alarm. I was like, but I guess maybe because I already had the alarm, maybe I already turned it off when we were gone because it triggered. Like, I was like, maybe I just didn't set off the alarm. But then why did the cops set it off when they got there? Right. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then I'm like, what? And then I see when they came and I see the alarm went off and I see like the door opened and everything. And I'm going through and da da da. Da, and I'm like, you know what? I never see the door closed. So I finally figured it out that the policeman opened the door, but they never closed it. They never ever closed that door. I don't know if they all just went out different doors because there was three of them, if they all took different levels. And then the guy that was in the basement didn't go out the basement door. He went out a different door. And maybe he's the guy who was talking to the policeman who was talking to me. And what he actually said to the policeman was, I left the basement door open. And really, he meant literally left it all the way open. And the other policeman thought that he had just left it unlocked. And so he told me that he left our basement door unlocked, which was fine. But if you knew, like, if you're a policeman, if you're anyone, like, why would you ever leave a basement door open? Right? Does that make sense? Like, why would you leave a basement door open when we live close to the woods and there's all this wildlife out there and who knows, bugs and everything? And it's hot as heck where we live. And it was, I mean, super hot this day. Like, I'm talking 90s. And he left the door wide open. Like, why would he do that when there's three, two little kids? One is clearly scared. And then I'm talking to like, why wouldn't you go back and shut the door if you knew you left it open? So that didn't make a lot of sense. But in our head, in the girl's head, we had all started making up all of these stories, right? Like, we had all started to decide what had happened when in actuality, what happened was my cat probably set off the motion detector in the basement. Somebody months ago may have left the basement door unlocked. And the policeman never closed our basement door. They barged in there. Who knows? Guns drawn, like everything. Who knows what they thought they were going to find in there? And then they just left without shutting the door. Okay. So all of this had us worried about things that were never a reality. They were never a reality. Like, the cat set off the alarm. I wasn't able to turn on the alarm because the policeman left the door open, and someone in my household unlocked our basement door at some point in time and never locked it again. So those three things are actually what happened. No one broke into our house. No one was hiding inside the house when we were there. No one left. No one, except for the police, left the door open, right? But all was well. And we, in our minds, sometimes as moms, we make up these things. We assume we know what is going on. We assume what these thoughts are about our life, about our children's lives, about our health, about, the fact that we can't do something, about what other people are going to think or say or do, right? We make assumptions and we live our life accordingly. And it's preventing us. Like, that night, we had plans to get pizza and have like a little family game night and whatever. When all of this started, it was like 5:45. And by the time we got back to our house, it was almost 9 p.m. My kids are supposed to be in bed at 9 p.m. Like, during the summer, that actually never happens. But like, we never eat dinner at 9 p.m. at night. And we were eating dinner and then we had to go to bed, right? Like, they had to go to bed after that. And I was exhausted, right? Like, it was exhausting. They were worked up. They wouldn't sleep in their own rooms that night. Like, even though they knew what had happened, even though I showed them the logs, they wouldn't go home until I literally showed them the log and how every time a door opens and closes, it's logged, and how the door in the basement never got closed and there's no log on that. Okay. And so nobody was ever in our house. Okay. And I'm like telling them this, and that was the only reason they would go home, but they still wouldn't sleep in their own beds. They didn't sleep in their own beds that night. Like my youngest slept with me and my oldest made my husband sleep in with her. So it was just like, it ruined our whole night, right? Like, and it was just false evidence appearing real, right? Like that's fear, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. We can also say fear, an acronym for fear is face everything and rise. Face everything and rise. That goes back to Helen Keller's quote, right? I want to read one more quote from G.T. Shed that says, "A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for." Right? A ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. And that's not what you and I are built for, right? Like we're built for more. We were made for more. So we can't think in our minds that we are afraid of that we're not worthy enough, that we're not good enough, that we don't have what it takes, that other people might say bad things about us, that other people might think we're crazy if we go after what we want, if we start the new business, if we, decide to do something that's out of the norm, if we want more for ourselves, if we decide to, get a babysitter so that we can go work out or get a babysitter so we can go get a massage, who might judge us because of that? I don't know. But you know what? We shouldn't care. We shouldn't care. We know we are meant for more and we should go after it, right? A ship might be safe in the harbor, but that's not what it was built for. And you weren't built to just be a mom. If you want more for yourself, then you should go get it. You are entitled to want more for yourself. You are more than just a mother. Yes, you are a mother, and yes, you will always be a mother. But what happens when those kids grow up, right? Like if you have poured all of yourself into them, what happens then? Like, are you empty then? Or do you right now, while they're young, model the behavior that you want them to have and that you want them to be? Do you want them to fulfill their dreams? And if they have dreams on their heart, would you want them to stifle those dreams? No. So don't stifle your own dreams. If your dream is to be a stay-at-home mom and just to stay-at-home mom and to do all of the things that a stay-at-home mom does and do them well, then that is what you should do, right? But if your dream is more than that, if you want more than that for yourself, then you deserve to go after it. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or says or does. What matters is what's in your heart and what you know is best for you. What you know is ultimately best for your family. Because when you're not happy and you're not fulfilled, you're not going to parent from a place that you want to be. You're going to parent better when you are fulfilled, when you are happy, when you are pursuing what you want to pursue. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to completely go back to work or you're going to completely change your lifestyle, right? It means just that you're taking the steps in the direction that you want to go. It means that you have a plan laid out. It means that you know what you want. It means that you can take little tiny steps towards it and feel fulfilled in that, right? Because this time isn't the time that you want to leave your kids, right? I know that was true for me. It wasn't the time that I wanted to just completely jump ship and go back to work or go pursue my career. Or, I did try to start a business that didn't go very well, but like this was not something that I should have jumped right into, right? I knew I wanted more and I went about it in the wrong ways. This is why I've developed the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching, by the way, is because there's a way to do it where you will feel fulfilled, but that you won't burn yourself out, that you won't get overwhelmed, that you will take the proper steps to get you where you want to go. And I want that for you. So I want to read one more quote to end here from Ruth Gendler. And it says, "Fear has a large shadow, but he himself is small." Fear has a large shadow. Have you ever seen like those cartoons or anything that has like this little twig and it's like a twig and it's shining in the moonlight and it portrays this huge monster on a child's wall or something. That is what I think of when I read this quote. I'm like, that is so true. It can take the tiniest thing. Fear can take the tiniest thing and make it into something so huge, something almost unbearable, something that we spiral over, right? Like we can get into this pattern of thinking these things over and over in our head, like we're not good enough, we're not a good enough mom, we must be terrible for wanting more for ourselves, right? That must mean we're not a good enough mom and we already aren't a good enough friend. So what happens if we pursue more for ourselves? Does that mean we're never going to be able to have friends again because we're not going to have any time for them? Like, what does it mean if we pursue our passion? Like, I don't even know what my passion or my purpose is anymore. Will I ever figure it out? Like, we can just go into a fear spiral when in actuality, fear himself is small and it creates this large shadow, and that is from us. We are what creates this large shadow, right? We create the big scary monster when really, if we face our fears in the correct way, you will see that they are lies, right? Just like the lie that someone was in our house, right? Nobody was in our house. And I could prove it, right? But sometimes we can't prove these things. They're in our head and we feed them and we make them into these big monsters. And so how do we figure out the truth? How do we figure out what is real? So I want to dive into that the next episode because I told you I might go long on this one and we could not get to it in this episode. But this is so important. The way that you figure out the truth and how you're able to lean into the truth and to not feed those lies, to not make that shadow huge, right? This is exactly what we do in the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. We take you on those next steps. We get so granular. We have you dial down and figure out what's important to you and why. And then we take it and go from there and we figure out what you want your life to look like and how we do that, right? So it is a process that I have walked through myself, and that's how I know it works, and it's now working for others, you guys, and I want it to work for you as well. And it starts with that first step, right? Taking that first step, facing your fear. You might have this big fear that you can't do it. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can, and I'm going to be there every step of the way if you choose to do the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. Find it at prioritizewithpurpose.com, prioritizewithpurpose.com. If you want to sign up for a session, you can do it there on the coaching tab. And I will see you right back here on Thursday to talk more about this, digging into the truth and how you get there, okay? So until then, go face a fear, and I will see you on Thursday. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right here on Thursday. Keep smiling, y'all.